Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Travie Grinds and welcome to my League Start guide for the Echoes of the Atlas 3.13 Ritual League. For Path of Exile, we are playing a Bladefall / Blade Blast Elementalist. I feel like it's going to be pretty good for the content that, or the challenge that it's going to give. Any kind of damage that we can throw on the ground, whether it be mines or a persisting style of damage, like Vortex or Brands or anything like that, will feel really good for the style of place, you know, the style of content. And I think Blade Blast is definitely going to have that good feeling for this content. So let's go ahead and get into it. We are playing an Elementalist, Bladefall, Blade Blast. We are going to be converting everything from physical to an elemental damage. We will be stacking, we'll be trying to do as much elemental damage as possible. Although we could easily swap this over into a cold damage, so it's kind of however you want to. There's a slight variations of the tree that you'll have to change, but let's go ahead and get into it. So on the tree, there isn't really too much. We're looking for things like life, elemental damage, spell damage, a little bit of AoE, and then a few mechanical changes to the build. So over here on the left side is where we get a lot of source of our elemental damage with Divine Judgment. We also try to get a bunch of life. We pick up Holy Dominion because it does increase both our physical damage and our elemental damage. And since we are converting physical to elemental, we kind of get a double dip there as well. Light of Divinity isn't bad. It gives us some spell damage, some critical strike chance for spells. We're not really worried about critical strike chance for spells because we are non-crit. And then just some life, pick up jewel sockets where you can. We are playing Elemental Overload. Like I said, we are not a crit based build, so might as well just get as much elemental damage as possible. Elemental Overload, you have to crit once every 8 seconds. That shouldn't be too big of a deal because our Bladefall does have about a 13.2 crit strike chance. So more than likely you're going to be critting at least once every 8 seconds. But again, we take a little, some life right here, some life regeneration. We want to go ahead and pick up this large jewel socket here for whenever we start getting cluster jewels. We come down here, we take the Scion life wheel. We take the life up in here. We want to grab our Golem Commander node. This will allow us to, with our Ascendancy, have 4 golems active at one time. We are only running 3 different types of golems, but you will have to, resummon, or not resummon, but have a repeat golem of one of the same types. Which one probably doesn't matter. That being said, I'm assuming you don't need multiple gems of that golem. I kind of got to see how it's going to work. If it's going to resummon, if it's like, let's say you have a flame golem die. If you've got 2 flame golems and they both die, is it just going to resummon one, or will it recognize that there was 2 flame golems and resummon them both? We're kind of going to have to see how that plays. So that's kind of one question that I have about the build, but I don't think it'll be that big a deal. We take some area of effect, some area damage. That is really good for Blade Blast. Again, we want to come over here, some spell damage, area of effect. Intensify is going to be good. We have Intensify on our Blade Blast. So having a higher maximum intensity is going to be good for us. More life, ES, because it's there. Why not? More life in ES. We come over here and grab the elusive buff because we are over here and might as well take it. And then we're just going to finish off with some life and a jewel socket. Now, which way to go is best? I would probably start up, come and hit Arcanist Dominion, go left, and try to get up to Heart of Thunder as, fairly quickly. We're going to have physical to lightning skill gem in our main link, so just try to get as much physical or lightning damage as we can. Getting the extra golems early on is not bad either. I would probably say going left towards the Templar side is going to be better because there's more damage over here, while there's a little bit more life over here. That being said, I haven't quite figured out what the best pathing, you know, where you should go first and things like that. I mean, it's kind of up for debate. That'll be one thing I work towards while leveling, and as I make the build guide even better and get a little bit better understanding of the build itself. So that's the tree. We've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 jewel sockets. Don't have a cluster tree set up just yet, but we will get there at some point, so stay tuned for that. Skills, pretty clean and easy setup. We have a 4-link Bladefall setup, which is just unleash, spell echo, faster casting. All this is to just try to get as many blades on the ground as fast as possible, right? The faster we do that, the faster we can cast Blade Blast. This is, I mean, obviously our big damage dealer. We'll be using Elemental Focus, Physical to Lightning, Control Destruction, Concentrated Effect, and Intensify. Now these gems are not in order of importance. I would say that Physical to Lightning, Elemental Damage are the first 2 you want to grab. Fourthly, grab Intensify, then grab Concentrated Effect, and then your 6th link should be Control Destruction. I'm pretty sure that's just like order of DPS. Golems, I kind of talked about this a little bit, where we have 3 golem gems. One of these will have to be recast twice. Hopefully the Elementalist, the Elementalist node that says you resummon a dead golem will work on the duplicate golem. So Chaos Golem for physical damage reduction, Stone Golem for 429 life regen, which would probably feel pretty good. And then Lightning Golem for faster attack and cast speed, and it's a pretty good source of damage apparently. I'm assuming cast speed affects the rate at which Blade Blast detonates, but it doesn't actually say that. Who knows? I could just be making that up. Who knows? Another 4-link is our basic cast 1 damage taken. I always do Immortal Call. Steel Skin is just as good an option as well. We also have increased duration on that with Vol Righteous Fire. Vol Righteous Fire is going to be what we use for when we hit the boss of the map, just to get that extra damage. Some buffs and debuffs. We have Wave of Conviction. This will apply the exposure to the enemy, granting, or having their 25% elemental resistance, which actually gets scaled even more with Mastermind of Discord, and I'll get to that in just a second. And then finally we have Wrath, because we are scaling lightning damage. Again, we could scale cold damage if we wanted to. I think late game lightning damage is going to be better if you can get things like Call of the Brotherhood. That's going to convert the 50% of physical to the cold damage that you've converted from physical, which is 50%. It's going to convert more of that into lightning damage, which is just even better. Now, before I forget, let's go into the Ascendancies. First off, we're going to take Mastermind of Discord. This gives you harder exposure, an additional negative 25% to their resistance. Really, really good. You're definitely going to want to be taking advantage of that. Regenerate 1% of mana is nice. It will help us sustain our mana. Without this, we would probably struggle kind of bad. I don't know how our mana cost is going to do just yet. Looks like we've got about 60 mana regenerated every second. The mana cost of Blade Blast is 61, so I could see there being a little bit of a problem. I think it'll be fine though. Next up, we grab Liege of the Primordial. More golems, buffs of golems, increased effects of the buffs of the golems. And then we get more damage per summoned golem. Then Elemancer, our golems are immune to elemental damage, which is nice. Kind of help them stay alive a little bit more. We're not too worried about them dying because they will come right back in 4 seconds, which is nice. This will allow us to be 100% ailment immunity. This is no chill, no frozen, no shock, and no ignite, which is really good. Also, more increased buffs granted by the golems, which is really good. And then finally, our Uber Lab will be Heart of Destruction. We gain convergence when we hit a unique enemy, no more than once every 8 seconds. So, you hit a unique enemy, you're going to gain convergence for 4 seconds. and then after those 4 seconds, you have to wait 4 seconds before you can gain convergence again. It's kind of like how, I think it was the pendulum, I can't remember the whole name of it, but where half the time you would have more damage, or increased damage, and then half the time you would have increased area of effect. This is just a clever workaround, and it is a lot bigger because convergence gives us 30% more elemental damage, which is quite a lot. So as soon as we hit that unique boss, we're gonna have convergence for the first 4 seconds of the fight, which for most map bosses, I'm hoping we don't go too much longer than that. For the more like Shaper, Cyrus fights, they're gonna go on a little bit longer than that, but that's fine. We'll gain convergence multiple times during those fights. So that's the tree, that's the skills. Hold on, I need to take that. Items is pretty cheap. Honestly, the most expensive part is going to be the +1 to level physical, or +1 to level physical spell skill gems, and even then these won't be that hard to get, but it's just for our weapon and our shield. We have those. The weapon I've crafted on 54% increased spell damage because you can, and then everything else is just life and resistance. Our boots, we do have movement speed, of course. Our jewelry, specifically our amulet and our rings, are going to need attributes, so specifically strength and dexterity. So try to get that because we are a little bit strength and dexterity starved. Although I did add Hrimsorrow into the build not too long ago, which does give us a little bit more strength. That kind of helps with that. Hrimsorrow is there to convert the other 50% of our physical damage into cold damage, which allows us to have 100% elemental damage. That being said, that's just going to give us more damage as well. If you are playing SSF and you can't get them, just a regular pair of gloves is still going to give you over 3 million Cyrus DPS. You're just missing out on a bunch of damage due to not having 100% elemental damage. And even on the rings, having opal rings versus 2-stone rings isn't really that big of a damage decrease. So you could do 2-stone rings or coral rings, or whatever rings you want to do, amethyst rings, whatever you want it to be. I just pick opal rings because they're the best, and I love opal rings. Also, body armor, you could swap it into a carcass jack if you get it. That's even more area damage, more life, more resistance. It's really good. I highly recommend taking it. For now, a tabula, getting 3.4 million DPS on a tabula is a pretty good thing. A Stygian Vice, life, resistance, try to get to 75 of all of them. Because we have so many rare items on the build, we could easily get our chaos resistance to possibly even max, depending on how much you invest into it. Alright, in the Stygian Vice, we will have a Searching Eye Jewel. This gives us life. I put some resistance on there. It's not terribly needed. If you need them, you can go on there. I also have the 8% chance to gain Onslaught for 4 seconds on kill. This just gives us a little bit, it gives us more movement speed and more cast speed, which in turn turns into more damage. Flasks, we're using a Experimenter's Quartz Flask. This gives us phasing. I can't stress how big having phasing is going to be for the 10 boss fight Maven encounter. Being able to freely move around the arena, and it's a small arena. There's a bunch of big dumb bosses in there. You're gonna need to be able to get out of cornered, from being cornered and out in the open, and be able to be in safety. So phasing, definitely important. That's why I went with Experimenters, because it lasts that much longer. Alchemist Basalt Flask. This is for physical damage reduction. We use Alchemist to make the stronger fizz damage reduction. I went with Of Curing on this one because why not? I went with Of Warding because I think Of Warding should be on the Experimenter's Flask. It just lasts that much longer. Next up, Alchemist Sulfur Flask of Draining. This creates Consecrated Ground. You get 40% increased damage, and with Alchemist, that does buff it by 25% increased. So that's mathematically that's 50% increased damage. Not bad. Of course, we have Alchemist Quicksilver of Adrenaline because we want to go that much faster. And all in all, that's pretty much it. I don't have any jewels put into the build, but you know, it's going to be your generic maximum life and then DPS nodes. Any kind of elemental damage, specifically lightning, would be the much better option. I don't know all the nodes or all the mods on jewels off the top of my head. You can get AoE damage, great, but look for lightning damage and maximum life. We will be getting a cluster jewel, I just haven't set it up yet, but I will be updating the POB quite frequently, so if you want to check that out on my Twitch channel, come by. I'll have a command so you can see the current path of building as well as my current character's path of building. That being said, I think that's pretty much all I got. I will note that if you do get a cluster jewel, try to get corrosive elements. That will allow us to drop Wave of Conviction. Where is it? Yeah, Wave of Conviction out of here, and you know, we can kind of maybe start looking into other gems to help with damage there. Anyway, that's all I got. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this is something you'd be interested in playing. If it is, let me know. But as always, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I'll see you later. Bye.